What do you look at me?
Hey, what's up, Kings of War fans? Today, something different. We're playing Age of Sigmar. Haha, joking. We've got some mighty Basilia, Basileans, Basilea, Below. This is what we've got. We have my new army. They're up and coming. A regiment of paladins, naked. A troop of paladins, naked. A horde of penitents, these guys are, and they have Banner of the Griffin. Proxying in, we got some goblins. Now these guys are being Sisterhood infantry today, and they are just naked as they are. Coming to the back here, we have a regiment of Sisterhood Panthers. These guys have Helm of the Ram for extra crushing strength. We have a horde of Alohi. These guys have Blood of the Old King.
Is this all we got?
We have a horde of trolls. These guys are Proxian. They are another horde of Alohi. Then we have a bearer of the Holy Icon. He's basically the BSB. This guy has got loot for some Bane Chant. Then we've got a priest. This guy has Bane Chant and Healing Charm. So he's got Healing 5. So he'll be kicking up some nice heals. And then the giant is Proxian again. This guy is going to be a Phoenix. So there we go. That makes up 2,000 points of Basilia.
These are the outtakes.
Okay, we have 2,000 points of Ratkin. Thank you. We're talking to you, list, Nick. What have you got?
Right, so you got two hordes of brutes. Can I just point out now that Joe has sorted me out some nice MDF bases. I'm in the process of rebasing this whole army. So apologies for the movement trays. Next time you see them, they will all be properly presented.
Sort your mates out and that. Sort your mates out. Right, talk to your list anyway. Go on.
So,
what have you got?
two hordes of brutes. We've got.
Wait. These are brutes.
Yeah, they're both naked. Rat ogres, pretty much.
Okay.
They're awesome. They got fury and regen.
Oh, nice.
A horde of blight. They've got the brew of strength. So they got crushing 1.
Nice.
This is a horde of shock troops.
Nicely based. Looking good.
Yes, mate. They've got the brew of sharpness. So they're +1 to hit. Then we've got 3 regiments of Vermintide and 2 weapon teams. These are all naked. The weapon teams have got the upgrade for piercing 1. And then you've got 2 mutant rat fiends.
Nice.
They are beasts.
What models are these? These GW models?
No, they're both Forge World. That's actually a Forge World Ratkin model, and that's the Chaos giant spiny beast.
Nice.
With a tail.
Very cool. Okay, character-wise, what you got?
And then this guy's an Enforcer. He's got the Inspiring Talisman. And then that guy's a Swarm Crier. He's got the Loot for a bit of Bane Chant. This is my Blight Lord. He's got the Banner of the Griffin, and I've given him Bane Chant as well. So he's got Bane Chant 3. And then this guy's a Warlock with Lightning Bolt 5 and the Amulet for Lightning Bolt 7.
Nice, and that makes 2,000 points of Ratkin. Cool. What's up, Kings of War fans? Utterly Spineless here, bringing you another Kings of War battle report, and something a little bit different today. We've got 2 brand new armies to the channel. We've got Basilia against Ratkin. Now, this is my new Basilia army, and apologies for all the proxies first. I've got maybe like 1,200, 1,500 points of Basilia painted up so far, and I don't want to play small games, so I'm just using my goblins to kind of like proxy in. I am getting them painted up pretty quickly, though. I'm quite happy with my progress, but that's all I got so far. And yeah, Ratkin. This is my my friend's new Ratkin army that he's oh well, not new. It's years old. From they're all GW models, but he's slowly getting them based up for Kings of War. So we got a good game today. We've got the eliminate scenario, which is the one where you put bounty tokens on 3 of your most expensive units, and then you score points for killing your opponent's units. So you've got to try and keep your most expensive units alive while killing your opponent. So I quite enjoyed this scenario actually, and it's only the 2nd time I've played it. And it's so sad, it's only the 3rd time actually playing my Basilia, and I lost 1, I won 1, so I'm doing okay with these guys so far, and I'm still kind of learning how to play them. So let's just start with deployment then. My bounty tokens went on to my Horde of Alohi there, my Horde of Alohi there, and the 3rd one went on to my Horde of Sisterhood Infantry. And then my opponent, if I just go forward, he had a bounty token on his horde of blight. Those ones are his horde of shock troops, and then the other one went on the rat fiend. These guys are both the same points, so we just chose and put it on that one there. So deployment wise, I'm not really keen on how my deployment turned out. I don't really like this huge gap there. I would prefer it if these guys were over there, but terrain wise, I just didn't want them getting blocked up, so I kind of separated them, which I wasn't thrilled about. I would have liked something more like how the Skaven have, the Ratkin have gone for. Yeah, and oh, damn it. Yeah, so the and I like the way the Ratkin have used their chaff to screen. So I think the Ratkin have probably got the upper hand. Well, at least I thought before the game went in. I was like, I don't think I deployed very well. But anyway, we'll see how the game pans out. So we rolled for first turn, and Basilia got first turn, and I've just moved up here, quite aggressive on the flanks, and I'm using that woods block there on the left to screen for my low height, so I can move them further up. And then the Sisterhood Panther Cavalry, they've obviously got nimble, so they've charged up maximum distances and pivoted. The other low height have gone into the woods, and just a general advance up the middle, really. It's quite difficult, this one, because the Ratkins have a space movement of 6 on pretty much everything, and obviously all my infantry is movement 5, so I'm getting outranged by everything in the middle, so I'm going to have to use my cavalry and my flyers pretty effectively this game in order to be successful. So, yeah, absolutely no shooting in this Basilia list, other than breath attacks from the Phoenix, so something I'm not used to. So that's the end of my turn. So Ratkin turn 1 in response then, and just advancing up the board and trying to like fan out, I suppose, to protect the flanks. You've got a good like fanning motion going on here, and using the nimble of his Vermintide shaft to try and get some nice pivots in there to, especially there, he doesn't get any flank charge. I like the fact that these guys have nimble. It's pretty cool. And then the Mutant Fiend has gone up into the woods, and this one has kind of pivoted outward to stop any cheeky shenanigans from this flying horde of a low-high. And that's about it. And then shooting-wise, yeah, not very effective, really. So the weapons team opens up onto the low-high, and I think the Lightning Bolt 7 character, he opened up onto the low-high horde as well, but obviously cover from the lightning bolts, and only, well, 3 wounds actually onto the low high, but then they iron resolved 1 back. When you see the wounds, guys, I'm not going to just say iron resolve in every single turn, because obviously it's the Basilia army rule, so just assume that everything's been iron resolved. And that is it for the end of Ratkin turn 1. So Basilia turn 2 then, and the 2 charges declared on the right-hand flank. The Sisterhood have gone into that little screening chaff of Vermintide, and the Alohi have flown out of the woods and charged the Ratkins, so the brutes in the front. Everything's moved up in the middle, and I'm losing the range game, obviously, so I can't remember what's in charge range here and what isn't, but I don't think I moved stuff out of charge range. I can't remember. And then what else happened? Yeah, so with these low high on the left, I pretty much moved them too close to the woods, and I didn't leave myself any really good options, and I didn't want to waste them. Because obviously these guys are holding a bounty token as well, so I thought I'd probably play more on the conservative side, so I've just moved backwards enough. I'm not out of charge range of that mutant rat fiend, but I'm not in charge range of anything else, so he shouldn't be able to break them. And then I've just kind of moved everything up to support, and I've moved the Phoenix up to support as well, so he can flank charge it, whatever charges that Alohi horde. And then if you look at my Alohi up there, he was here, and he's moved right over the top and pivoted once, so he's got a lovely little rear charge on that Ratkin horde as well. He's definitely causing some problems for the Ratkins, so let's see how we get on combat-wise. Yeah, the Sisterhoods totally fluff their attacks into this Vermintide. I would expect a minimum of 6 wounds here. I'm wounding on 2s. And then it just totally fucked the nerve roll as well and get nothing. Literally don't even waver them. So that's a really, really disappointing start. Those guys are going to be held up by like a 60-point unit of chaff. The low-high trolls, though, they do a little bit better. They put 9 wounds onto those brutes, which is was about average, I think. But then, again, I just totally fucked the nerve roll and I get a 3. So nothing on those guys. No wavering. Absolutely nothing. So pretty, well, a very ineffective round of combat there on Basilia turn 2, and let's see how the rat can respond. Ratkin turn 2 then, and this is what the board is looking like after movement. As you can see, the 2 Vermintide have gone, both of them have gone into the front of the Sisterhood. The Brutes have gone back into the front of the low-high Trolls, and these guys were in range, that's fine, so they've been charged with the Ratkin, but I'm not sure what I was doing here with this regiment of Paladins. I don't think I intentionally left them in range. I can't remember. That must have been a misplay on my part. So, yeah, so these that massive unit of shock troops with brutal sharpness, they hit hard, which I didn't realise at the time, but I do now. They hit really hard, so they've charged into those. And then the Mutant Rat Fiend is charged out of the wood into the low-high, and everything else has just moved up. So what my opponent's done here is he's turned this guy around and then charged the low-high with his little character, hoping to just put some wounds on him and take his flying away, just to like kind of slow him down. And then shooting wise, 8 wounds went onto my Horde Sisterhood. These guys are only defense 3, so his stuff is all piercing. There's 2 weapons teams there, one there, one there. They have piercing and wounding on 2s, and so does a lightning bolt. So 8 wounds is some pretty devastating shooting, to be honest. So I'm in trouble with these guys. I need to get them into some combat, really, and otherwise they're just going to get shot off the board very quickly. And then let's see how he got on combat-wise. Yeah, the Mutant Rat Fiend doesn't do very well here. He fluffs his attacks and he puts 2 wounds onto the low-high, so they're totally fine. The Vermintide, which were Bane chanted, put 1 wound onto these Paladins. I think what the Ratkin did, he didn't realise that my Paladins were actually defense 5. He just assumed they were infantry and defense 4. Because if you have a look back here, he Bane chanted those guys instead of really he should have Bane chanted the shock troops. Yeah, I think he just didn't realise they were defense 5, but they're Paladins. So cycling forward again, those guys are fine. These guys get 10 wounds put on them, and then he double ones it. Which is pretty damn nice for me. I don't think he would have blown through them because he didn't Bane chant them. And these guys do have rallying behind them, so they're a lot tougher than they look. But that double ones is nice. It means I'm not even wavered, so I don't even have to make a nice headstrong roll. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then, yeah, the Brutes, these guys hit on 4s, so they don't actually hit that hard. Not as hard as I was expecting anyway, and they only put 5 wounds onto the low-high Trolls, so those Trolls are fine again. And then between the 2 of them, these Vermintide, they put 4 wounds onto the Sisterhood, which is pretty nice actually, because those guys are hitting on 5, so any wounds would strip their Thunderous here. So again, these guys are causing some serious problems for the Sisterhood. And that is the end of Ratkin turn 2. So there we go. Oh yeah, and this guy put 1 wound onto my low-high, but he iron resolved it back. It does mean he loses his flying though, and his Thunderous. So there we go, end of turn 2, and no casualties taken by either team. Basilia turn 3 then, and lots of charges declared here. My low-high have gone into the back of the Mutant Fiend on the left-hand side, and I've taken the flank charge with my Phoenix as well. Because these guys have Blood of the Old King, so if I think if I pop Blood of the Old King there, and then get the 6 attacks in the flank with the Phoenix, I shouldn't have any issues popping this Mutant Rat Fiend there. He is only, after all, only a defense 4. So that's my plan there. Yeah, the Paladins have gone back into that Vermintide. The Horde have got the charge in along with the regiment on this unit of shock troops here. The Sisterhood have gone into the already wounded unit of Vermintide, and then so have the low-high Trolls. They've gone back into the Brutes. And then in the shooting phase, I get the Bane chant off onto the Penitents. Now they already have Crushing 1. So that puts them crushing 2. That means these guys are wounding on 2s. They do hit on 5s though, but 30 attacks hitting on 5 with crushing 2 is nothing to be sniffed at. And then I get a nice roll on the healing. Actually, I heal 4 wounds onto this sisterhood by this priest. So that's nice. And then onto the combat though, nah, not good. I popped Blood of the Old King on these guys, and with the flank attacks from a Phoenix as well, I would have expected like so many more wounds than this, but I only get 9. And then I just messed the nerve roll up as well. This guy isn't even wavered, so that sucks, to be honest. It's the last thing I want, is to be getting bogged down in a combat with my flyers against a regenerating monster. Really would have liked to blow that guy in a 1-er, but nah, the dice just weren't with me on that one, so that sucks. Yeah, I think I got a 5. There we go. And this guy wasn't even in inspiring range either. So poor rolling on the wounds and on the nerve there, unfortunately. The Alohi got the flank, the Alohi got the flank charge, the rear charge onto that unit of Blight, which is nice because it means they don't get their ensnare rule either. And triple attacks puts 8 wounds onto them. That's a little bit suicide for this guy, to be honest, because he's now going to get rear charged in the next turn. But that unit's carrying a token, so if I think, my thoughts here is I put 8 wounds on him. He can't regenerate those wounds or heal them back in any way, and that's a horde that I need to get some damage on because I want that bounty token. So I'm okay with that. Paladins against the Vermintide, yeah, again 6 wounds, but again I messed the nerve roll up again, so another shit round of combat, and I put 11 wounds onto that unit of shock troops, which is okay, I think, but I don't manage to get a waiver roll on them, which is a little bit annoying because they have like rallying for days, so they can definitely charge back in. And the Alohi Trolls, on the second time round, they get some nice wounds onto that unit of brutes, and they do rout them. The Sisterhood, which I must have forgotten to picture, they also rout the unit of Vermintide. So not a great round of combats by the Basilia there. I did manage to get some things off the board, but I wanted that Ratkin Mutant Fiend gone, and he's not, unfortunately. So yeah, there we go. That's the end of Basilia turn 3. Ratkin turn 3 then, and this is what the board is looking like before they take their movement, and here's what it's looking like after. So there we go, the Alohi has been charged in the rear. I don't think he's going to last long there. The unit of Blight have taken the flank charge against that Phoenix. It is a hindered charge, they had to come through the woods, but I don't think it matters. Those guys have 60 attacks in the flanks, and they're wounding on 2s as well, I think, because the Phoenix is only defense 3. No, they're not. They don't have any Bane Chant. But I don't think he'll survive that anyway. And I'm okay with that, actually, because I can countercharge them with my Sisterhood if he makes his reform. So, and these guys have already got 8 wounds on them. I'm okay with that, to be honest. It sucks losing the Phoenix, but whatever. And then in the middle here, that unit of Vermintide were in combat there, so they got nimble, so they can go back and then pivot, which is nice and handy. So they've managed to get out the way, and then the front charge into the Paladins with the brutes. Those guys have gone into this horde of penitents, and the other unit of Vermintide have gone into the front of the Sisterhood cavalry, and an absolute clutch play. If you look at this, the Enforcer has turned around and front charged the Alohi. Now, this guy only has 3 attacks, and he's hitting on 4s and wounding on 4s here. But he needs to put 1 wound onto this unit of flying Alohi, because if he doesn't, then these guys are going to be causing some serious damage next turn. So that is a clutch play. Can he get 1 wound onto that horde of Alohi and make them lose their flying? We'll see. And on to the shooting then, and everything else is pretty much blocked by line of sight and stuff. I think this one unit, weapons team managed to get some shooting attacks onto my Sisterhood and put them back up to 7 wounds. And then the Bane Chant went onto the Enforcer, because rather than Bane Chanting his shock troops, he Bane Chants the Enforcer because he just really, really wants that wound. And there we go, the Vermintide put, those 2 skulls just mean lots, basically. Lots and lots of wounds onto the Phoenix, and he is routed. The Brutes put 7 wounds onto that troop of Paladins, and then he double ones it. Oh, that is a little unfortunate, that is. And that works out quite nicely for me, actually. I think those guys are... Let's have a look. Yeah, they are 11-13, so they would have rallying. They'd be 12-14, so we would have only needed 14 to route them. So we would have needed a 7 re-rolling to route them. So he wasn't odds on to route them anyway, but still that double one kind of sucks. And yeah, those shock troops put 19 wounds onto those penitents and route them in a 1-er, which is just wow, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, I know they're only defense 3, but Christ, they are a horde after all. So they're popped in 1 round of combat. That's didn't expect that. And the Vermintide, they do manage to put a wound onto my sisterhoods, which they iron resolve back anyway, but it doesn't matter. At least they've lost their Thunderhusk, so it's a little bit annoying. And this guy, he gets his wound. He does. It's immediately iron resolve back anyway, but it doesn't matter. They've lost their flying, so that is a clutch play by the Ratkin there. That saved their bacon, I reckon. And this is what the board is looking like at the end of Ratkin turn. Oh, apart from this guy, we actually forgot to do this. We had to go back and do it, and he's routed, obviously. So there we go. That's the end of Ratkin turn 3. So Basilia turn 4 then, and if we work from left to right, the Alohi have gone into the front of that mutant rat fiend, so they should be able to pop him second time round. And I've got a front charge from the Sisterhood into that unit of Blight, and they're already pretty heavily wounded, so I'm actually wounding on 2s with Vicious there. So despite them having Ensnare, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I should be able to pop those guys in a 1-er and get that token, which I'm pretty chuffed with. Coming towards the middle of the board, then the troop of paladins have gone into the front of the brutes. That regiment of paladins have gone into the front of the shock troops. So if I get some decent roll in here, I can pop that unit as well. The Sisterhood have gone into the front of that Vermintide, and yeah, I don't know what to do with this unit. Sword of Alohi. I'm hoping I can burst through that character. He is only defense 4 after all, so I can pop him, and then I think we measured it, and if I got a 6, I could overrun into the flank. So that's what I'm hoping to do there. Yeah, just a little bit frustrated that I lost my flying, so there's not really a lot I can do. So that's all the charges then, and I get a Bane Chant off onto this unit of paladins in the shooting phase, and I also get a Bane Chant, I think, goes on to the Alohi from this guy, because these guys were already wounding on 2, so there's pointless in them getting Bane Chanted. So let's see how I get on in the combats. And yeah, probably the worst possible start here. The Sisterhood put that unit of Blight up to 18 wounds, and then I double one the nerf. Oh my god. Yeah, this hurts. This hurts a lot. Like, that's a token. That unit's holding a bounty, so that not only have I not got a point, but as soon as these guys get to countercharge next turn, this unit is worth a point. So that's a 2-point swing on that one roll. I'm devastated on this one. Absolutely devastated. But oh well. Let's see what else we can do this turn. Yeah, gets even worse, because that unit of Alohi, again, I roll a 4 on the nerf, and that mutant rat fiend is still alive. I needed a 5. I needed a fucking 5 to pop him, and I didn't get it. So the left-hand side of the board is looking terrible at the moment. I should have popped those 2 units, and I don't get nothing. Not even a waiver, and nothing. That sucks. The Paladins managed to put a couple of wounds onto that horde of shock troops, though, and they unfortunately, again, I get a 4 on the nerve and nothing, so a little bit frustrating. I think I needed something like a 6 to waiver them. Oh, just a 6, I think, with their rallying. And I don't even get that, so that sucks. And then, yeah, just getting even worse. Even worse, the Alohi Horde put 4 wounds onto a defense 4 fucking character. Man, sucks this turn. Yeah, so he's totally fine as well. I think he's wavered. And the Sisterhood put 3 wounds onto that unit of Vermintide, and they're wavered. So yeah, possibly one of the worst turns of Kings of War I have ever played. I'm literally just ready to go out and hang myself at this point. It's devastating, absolutely devastating. I don't get a single route across the board, and do you know what? I didn't even need big rolls. I needed like 4s and 5s to get routes and waivers, and I get nothing, absolutely nothing. And this level 1 here has just killed me. Oh man, devastating, devastating. Oh well, what can you do? On to Ratkin turn 4. Let's see how the Ratkin respond. So, Ratkin turn 4 then, and I forgot to take a photo of what the board looked like at the end of the charge moves, but it's pretty much counter charges across the board. So the Mutant Rat Fiend went into the Low-High, that Blight went into the Sisterhood, the Brutes went back into the Paladins, these guys went back into these guys do nothing because they're wavered. But this heavily wounded regiment of Vermintide, they have charged into the front of the Horde of Basilia. So this character is wavered, so he moves back, and these guys have nimble, so they can get in there and then close the door. And this guy makes his way across, but that's pretty much what it was like for movement. So onto the combats then, and that unit of Blight just put a ton of wounds onto the Sisterhood Infantry, more than I was expecting actually. But they are only defense 3, I suppose, so they rout those guys. Excuse me. Yeah, so that unit is routed, and the first token of the game goes to the Ratkin. The unit of Brutes, that unit of Paladins is already heavily wounded, so they are routed. And then the shock troops put, again, the unit of Paladins was heavily wounded, so they put another 6 on them, I think, probably more, and then they are routed. And a Bane chant goes onto that unit, the regiment of Vermintide, because again, the Ratkins just need to put some wounds onto this horde of Alohi just to take their flying away. And with the Bane chant, they get it. I think they were hitting on 5s. These guys hitting on 5s, wounding on 4s, but they do manage to get their 1 wound, which is Iron Resolve back, but it doesn't matter. They are still disordered, so cannot fly anywhere. Which is again really frustrating for me. But in fairness to my opponent here, he's doing a good job of constantly chaffing up my flyers and my Sisterhood. And if I just move on to the Sisterhood, these guys are wavered, so they didn't take a wound. But I did say at the start of the game I would need to make my flyers and my cavalry effective in order to come out on top in this game. And the Ratkin had done a very good job of chaffing them up, constantly putting wounds on them, stripping their flying. And my other Horde of Alohi are bogged down against the regenerated monster. So, yeah, this is costing me, really. And I don't have a photo of it, but that is pretty much the end of Ratkin turn 4. Basilia turn 5 then, and unfortunately I don't have a photo of what the board is looking like at the end of the Ratkin's last turn, but I make 2 really, really clutch plays here. I perform a corkscrew charge with my Alohi into the unit of Blight, and I perform a nimble corkscrew charge with my Sisterhood into the front of that unit of shock troops. Neither of which my opponent was expecting, I don't think, but those are the 2 bounty holding units, and they are both heavily wounded, so that one's definitely gone. But if I get some good rolling, I can pop that one here, so I can actually secure 2 bounty tokens with those 2 charges in this turn, which is awesome. And my unit of Alohi trolls at the top there have gone into that unit of Ratkin Vermintide, which are heavily wounded, so I shouldn't have any trouble popping those. And yeah, the Alohi put lots of wounds onto that unit of Blight, and they are routed, so that's 1 token for me. And then the Sisterhood, despite using the corkscrew down here and through there, that actually put them through the woods. They did lose their Thunderer, so any wounds here, I was just hoping for some decent runes and a good roll. But I managed to put 5 wounds on this unit of shock troops, and I actually rout them as well. So that is about as good as I could have possibly expected that. So I'm literally chuffed with that. So that's 2 tokens for me in this turn. And then my Horde of Alohi popped that unit of Ratkin Vermintide. So brilliant turn for me there. I'm dead chuffed with that. I've got 2 tokens in turn 5 when I wasn't expecting to get any. So massive bonus. And that is what the board is looking like at the end of Basilia turn 5 after all the reforms. Ratkin turn 5 then, and not a whole lot the Ratkin can do here, to be honest. Everything's kind of out of their arc of sight. But to deal with this unit of a low-high on the left, what he decides to do is charge his, I think that guy is the Blight Lord, right? And he's got 4 attacks and crushing 2. So he charges him into the flank of the low-high, and hopefully he can do some wounds and stop those guys flying away. So he then decides to use his shooting to shoot at the priest, and this guy was already on 2 wounds from the shooting last turn. And he puts him up to 7 and does manage to rout the priest. So interesting choice there not to put more wounds onto the Elohai. Let's see if he can get some wounds in combat and strip their Thunderous. And no, that's the problem with this Ratkin. Everything's hitting on 4s, so 4 attacks on the Enforcer, and he does absolutely nothing. So that kind of backfires for the Ratkin there. The Brutes that have charged into the front of the Sisterhood, and the Sisterhood were already sitting on a couple of wounds. Needless to say, they're wounding them on 2s. Yeah, they wreck them and they rout them. And the Enforcer, who's charged into the front of that unit of Elohai, again, he's got 3 attacks hitting on 4s, and he just needs to do 1 wound in order to strip their flying. But no, he doesn't manage to get a single wound on them. So, really poor turn there for the Ratkin. They haven't managed to put any wounds onto the units that mattered, and they've routed the only unit that really doesn't. So, that is it for Ratkin turn 5. Let's go on to Basilia turn 6. So Basilia turn 6 and potentially the last turn of the game. So I got a couple of decisions to make here. And that is, do I want to get some charges or do I want to play it safe? Now, I've got a couple of options. I could charge this horde of low-high trolls into that that individual, and then steamroll into that individual, and then go into the flank of that horde of brutes, in like a kind of domino effect. But really, I've got 2 points here, and I've only conceded 1. So all I've got to do this turn is keep my 2 hordes of Elohai alive, and that should win me the game. So this is what I decided to do. It's a little bit of a dick move, but I just fly them both into the center of the board, and just not in a position where any of them can be charged next turn, because, you know, I could have charged into this guy, but I probably wouldn't have routed him, and then I would have get counter-charged, so why risk it? It was a pointless move to risk it, so I just fly them both into relative safety. There's nothing I can do to stop them getting shot at, but I don't think he can do enough shooting to really rout the Basilia. So that is pretty much the end of Basilia turn 6. So Ratkin turn 6 then, as you can see, everything circles in onto the centre, onto the 2 hordes of Elohai, and the only shooting he's able to get off, and these guys can't get into range, but this weapons team can, and this Lightning Bolt 7 individual can, and he does really well on the rolling and managed to put this horde of Elohai up to 11 wounds, but unfortunately he only needs a 6 up twice because they are inspiring to break them, and he doesn't get it. He only rolls a 5. I think he was 1 short, and we roll for another turn and we don't get it. So that is a win to the Basilia, 2 victory points to 1. So there we go, guys, another Kings of War battle report. I hope you enjoyed that one, and a really interesting game for me today. Enjoyed playing my Basilia, brand new army, still getting used to them. But after that devastating turn 4, I literally thought I was going to get tabled. Yeah, that turn sucked, and then I turned it around in turn 5, and before I know it, I'm actually winning the game. It was weird though. I didn't feel like I was winning because I was pretty much getting tabled. If you look at the board at the end of 6 turns for both players, Rat can actually have like close to double the amount of points as Basilia there, but it's just a case of I was playing the scenario and my opponent was playing the game. And although he did a really good job of tying down the 2 hordes of Elohai and really making them quite ineffective in terms of how much damage they did, at the same time, with them constantly getting healed and from Iron Resolve, he just didn't put enough damage on them to kill them, and it cost the Ratkins at the end of the game. So there we go, it's a lesson to all there: play the scenario, not the game. Yeah, but really interesting game. And my MVP award goes to the 3 regiments of Vermintide. It's got to go to the Ratkins because the Basilias didn't play that well, to be honest. But I think these little Vermintide regiments are really great. I mean, one of them took a charge from the Sisterhood and didn't waver. Another one took a charge from the Paladin troop and didn't waver. And then, you know, another one like charged into the Horde below high and did a wound on them to strip their flying. Just really handy little units to have, and it's 60 points each. If you can get Rallying 2 behind them, they become like 11 and 13 on nerve, which is like way more than you normally expect in this kind of stuff. You normally expect to charge into and blow out the water, but not these guys. Yeah, so really decent units and very effective use of them today by the Ratkins. Well played. So I hope you enjoyed that battle report, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.